Boldface problems are easy to spot but difficult to solve. You know that you have a boldface problem because when you look at the premise, you see one or two phrases or sentences that are literally in bold, and the word boldface always appears in the question. Other context clues that indicate that it's a boldface question are words like play, role, portion, or section. Boldface problems are so difficult to solve because the answer choices are so rhetorical. When you look at them, you feel as though you're just swimming in this word salad, this rhetoric soup of verbiage. So in order to solve a boldface problem, it's important to remember that there really are only three parts to an argument: facts, conclusion, and assumptions. If you were taught otherwise, that's because the reason that all of these nonsense little test prep and tutoring agencies, centers, companies, and programs like to overcomplicate everything is to convince you that you need to learn more than you really do in order to keep your checks coming. I will never do that to you. I'm all about streamlining. I simplify and I make everything clear because that's my name. So I've actually compiled a chart of synonyms for facts and conclusions, and there are not many synonyms for assumptions from the answer choices to boldface problems on the GMAT, the GRE, and the LSAT. That chart is available on my website, and I include the link in the description. Remember that the conclusion is what the author wants. It's basically his opinion. And when we give an opinion, we have to support it with fact. Synonyms for conclusion include, again, opinion or argument. And synonyms for fact include words like grounds, evidence, and support. Normally on critical or logical reasoning, you look at the premise, you identify the facts and the conclusion, and then you brainstorm assumptions. That's not what you're doing here. When I solve a boldface problem, I like to break it down sentence by sentence and ask what each part is doing. Is it some kind of conclusion, or is it some kind of fact supporting a conclusion? And then look for synonyms for that role or those roles for that part or parts in the answer choices. On boldface problems, it is especially important to remember the concession. If you're not familiar with what a concession is, it's time to review argumentative essay writing. Concession comes from the verbs cede or concede. Basically, a concession is when the author gives a little bit to the other side in the spirit of civility before going into his disagreement. It's like if you were having an argument with someone that you love, to be polite, you might say things like, well, I understand why you feel that way, or I get where you're coming from, before you disagree. Those are concessions. In argumentative essay writing, concessions sound something along the lines of, while that may be true, or though that is understandable. Boldface problems love to test you on the concession. So if you see the concession in a boldface part, you will need it in the correct answer. So that's an introduction to boldface problems. To read more in detail, including an example problem with answer explanations, visit my website. The link is included in the description. And for a private lesson with me, please also visit my website. That information too is in the description. I've worked online with people from all over the world. I'd love to work with you. Take care.